For 100 million years, the most dangerous thing in any ocean was a pliosaur. And here is every pliosaur explained. The marine reptile that hadn't figured out what it wanted to be. Rhomaleosaurus, 23 feet long. Early Jurassic, roughly 200 million years ago. You'd expect a top ocean predator to have a clear body plan. Rhomaleosaurus didn't. Its neck was too long for a pliosaur but too short for a plesiosaur. It was stuck in between, like a prototype that evolution hadn't finished assembling. But it was already lethal. It hunted fish and cephalopods in shallow seas using all four flippers in a motion scientists compare to flying underwater. Picture an animal the size of a small boat gliding silently through murky water, then suddenly firing all four flippers at once to snap its jaws shut on prey. Fossils found in England include one of the most complete early plesiosaur skeletons ever recovered. Close relatives like Macroplata had the same identity crisis. Long neck, big head, no clear evolutionary direction. Attenborosaurus pushed it even further. A long neck paired with a disproportionately large skull. So unusual that scientists still can't agree whether it was a pliosaur at all. And Hophiosaurus, found in Germany and England at just 11 to 13 feet, shows that the earliest pliosaurs started small. But the blueprint was already there. Big head, powerful jaws, four flippers. The rough draft of a killing machine that would take millions of years to finish. The long snout of the English seas, Peloneustes, 10 to 17 feet. Middle Jurassic, Oxford Clay Formation, England. For an animal that's been extinct for 160 million years, Peloneustes is absurdly well documented. 12 nearly complete skulls have been found. More than most pliosaurs could ever dream of. Long, narrow snout, needle-sharp teeth, built to snatch slippery fish in open water. Peloneustes shared the Oxford clay with at least 3 other pliosaurs, including Marmornectes, another long-snouted form, and the strangest of them all, Pachycostasaurus. This last one was only about 10 feet long, but its bones were abnormally dense and heavy. A condition called pachyostosis, extremely rare in plesiosaurs. While every other pliosaur swam agile near the surface, Pachycostasaurus probably sank like living ballast and hunted near the seafloor. In the same sea, at the same time, one pliosaur flew through the water column and another crawled along the bottom. Evolution doesn't pick one path. It tests all of them at once. The pliosaur the BBC turned into Godzilla, Liopleurodon, the most famous, and the most dishonest. In 1999, the BBC documentary Walking with Dinosaurs showed Liopleurodon as an 82-foot monster, the largest marine predator of all time. The narrator said it with absolute conviction. Millions of kids watched it. The problem, it was fiction. In reality, Liopleurodon ferox measured between 16 and 23 feet. Big for a marine predator, sure, but not the 80-foot leviathan that traumatized an entire generation of children watching TV. Imagine finding out the monster that gave you nightmares as a kid was 4 times smaller than you were told. The actual fossils come from England and northern France. Robust teeth, broad skull, 4 powerful flippers, an efficient ambush predator, but a 20-foot one, not an 80-foot one. Liopleurodon proves that reputation and reality are completely different things. In paleontology and everywhere else, the bulldog of the Jurassic seas, Simolestes, 16 feet, Middle Jurassic, also from the Oxford clay. Every other pliosaur in that ecosystem had a long, elegant snout. Simolestes went the opposite direction. Short, wide, flattened muzzle, compact jaws packed with thick teeth. Where Peloneustes snatched fish with surgical precision, Simolestes probably grabbed larger, tougher prey with raw crushing force. Think the difference between a greyhound and a pit bull. This diversity within a single sea shows that Oxford clay pliosaurs weren't competing with each other. Each one hunted differently in the same ocean at the same time. When apex predators stop competing and start specializing, the ecosystem is at its peak. And usually the decline comes right after. The predator that got a nickname before it got a name, Pliosaurus. The biggest, the most brutally efficient, 26 to 43 feet depending on the species. Late Jurassic, between 155 and 145 million years ago. 6 valid species. Pliosaurus cruised using only its 2 front flippers and fired the rear pair for bursts of speed during attacks, like a built-in turbo system. teeth triangular in cross-section, a trait no other pliosaur had. And then came P. funke, found in the Svalbard archipelago in the Norwegian Arctic, buried in permafrost. The fossils had to go through freeze-thaw cycles before extraction. Before it was officially described, the media nicknamed it Predator X, and the name stuck. Estimated skull length, 6.5 to 8 feet. Estimated bite force, 33,000 pounds, likely more than any T-Rex. Picture a skull the size of a small car clamping shut with the force of an industrial crusher. In 2023, another Pliosaurus turned up in the cliffs along the Dorset coast in England. P. cavani, with a skull nearly 8 feet long, one of the most complete ever found. It became the star of a BBC documentary with David Attenborough, and in Mexico, the so-called Monster of Aramberry, a partial vertebral column found in 1985 and initially mistaken for a theropod dinosaur, also belongs to a giant pliosaur, likely from the same group. Pliosaurus wasn't just the largest pliosaur, it was proof that nature, given enough time, builds things that seem impossible. 1/3 head. Kronosaurus, 30 to 35 feet. Early Cretaceous, around 112 million years ago. Australia and Colombia. The name comes from Kronos, the Greek titan who devoured his own children. And it's not an exaggeration. Kronosaurus had a skull measuring between 7 and 9.4 feet. Nearly a third of its entire body was head. Conical teeth up to 12 inches long, with no cutting edges, built to puncture and crush, not slice. Bite force reaching an estimated 30,000 newtons, roughly double that of a modern saltwater crocodile. It hunted sea turtles, sharks, giant squid, and other plesiosaurs. One fossil of Rhomaleosaurus, a long-necked plesiosaur, was found with rounded bite marks that likely belonged to Kronosaurus. And the fact that only the head survived suggests the body was ripped away during the attack. Imagine finding just the head of a 26-foot reptile and realizing something bigger simply ate the rest. It lived in the Eromanga Sea, a cold inland sea that covered much of Australia. Stones found in the stomachs of some specimens may have served as ballast for deep dives. South American relatives include Pachycostasaurus and Monquirosaurus from Colombia. The latter originally classified as a Kronosaurus species before being given its own genus in 2021. In Italy, Anguinax is the first articulated pliosaur ever found in the country, proving the group had truly global reach. Kronosaurus wasn't just a predator, it was a jaw with flippers, the last of their kind. Brachauchenius, 20 to 26 feet. Late Cretaceous, between 93 and 89 million years ago. One of the very last pliosaurs to exist. Its neck was absurdly short, shorter than any other pliosaur on record. Skull, 5.6 feet. Together with Megacephalosaurus, another short-necked Cretaceous pliosaur, it represents the final stage of the group's evolution. Heads getting bigger, necks getting shorter, bodies increasingly optimized for head-on attacks of pure brute force. 100 million years of evolution led to this. An animal that was essentially a mouth with flippers. But it wasn't enough. Pliosaurs didn't vanish all at once. The primitive forms like Rhomaleosaurus and Macroplata disappeared in the early Jurassic, replaced by larger-headed, shorter-necked forms within their own lineage. The Oxford clay giants, Liopleurodon, Peloneustes, Simolestes, vanished during the transition from the middle to the late Jurassic, likely due to shifting sea levels and reorganizing marine ecosystems. Pliosaurus dominated the late Jurassic and then disappeared without a clear cause. Kronosaurus ruled the early Cretaceous, but its disappearance also remains without a definitive explanation. And the last ones, Brachauchenius and Megacephalosaurus, were gone by the early late Cretaceous, millions of years before the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. They weren't wiped out by a catastrophe, they were replaced. Mosasaurs, marine lizards that evolved from land-dwelling ancestors, filled the exact same apex predator niche. And they did it better. Or at least more versatilely. Mosasaurs were likely faster thanks to their bilobed tails, were significantly more diverse, and may have reproduced more easily in open water. Although pliosaurs also gave live birth, mosasaurs seem to have spread across every ocean far more rapidly. They adapted to niches pliosaurs never occupied, from shell crushers in shallow water to high-speed torpedoes in the open ocean. and even freshwater rivers. Pliosaurs proved that being the biggest and strongest works, until something more versatile shows up. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. Every new subscriber helps us keep going. Hit the bell. And if you want to understand why mosasaurs outcompeted pliosaurs and how they came to dominate every ocean on the planet, watch the video showing on screen right now.